This segment is sponsored by the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum, where there is a new exhibition open to the public. It's A Heartbeat Away, the American Vice Presidency, and there is a special anniversary being marked by this exhibition. I am joined by historian and the director of the Ford Foundation, Gleaves Whitney. And thanks for having us in.
Well, thanks so much for talking to us about this very exciting exhibit, very exciting time with the conference coming up. And then the Vice Presidency itself is really a remarkable institution that no one knows about.
Yeah, this is their chance to get in and learn that. But let's dissect some of the things you said. First of all, this is a special anniversary that we mark with this exhibition.
Exactly right. So the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Foundation, Library, and Museum are all recognizing a series of very special anniversaries that we're going into. So it was 50 years ago that then Congressman Ford, a minority leader Ford over there in the House of Representatives, is nominated to become Vice President of the United States by Richard Nixon. And that occurs on October 12th, and he goes on to be confirmed on December 6th of 1973. So we're marking the 50th anniversary, as we'll be marking a bunch of 50th anniversaries in the coming years at this very exciting time in President Ford's life.
You mentioned that that folks don't know much about the Vice Presidency and its import, although we can think of some modern examples where the Vice President had a pretty big mark on history. But talk a little bit about the importance of the Vice Presidency to our nation.
If you go back to the Constitutional Convention of 1787, that long, hot summer, they were debating so many things. This is where the founders got together, and they were debating what the architecture of our new government would look like. Believe me, the Vice Presidency was pretty much an afterthought. They didn't know what it would be called. In fact, there were some vice presidents who would come along later in history and be called His Accidency.
Oh.
So it was not a very highly esteemed office, but it became an esteemed office. And this exhibit tells the story of how the Vice Presidency morphed from a nothing to something that was really significant. And Gerald Ford was part of that arc of history. In 1973, we know the story of what happened. Spiro Agnew resigns in disgrace. He had been a conservative firebrand who had upset a lot of people. Ford was considered the tonic that would soothe things, calm things down. Nixon desperately needed Vice President Ford because Nixon was embroiled in the Watergate scandal. So the Vice Presidency became a very important anchoring office at that time because of the character of Gerald R. Ford.
Brooke Clement is the director of the Ford Library and Museum, and we are, of course, standing in this beautiful exhibition. Yes. Tell me about what visitors will experience here.
So the whole thought process behind this exhibit is that this is showcasing the entirety of the Vice Presidency from beginning to now with the American Vice Presidency. But we also pay special attention to the modern Vice Presidency as well. So we're really talking from Truman forward. So we have a great exhibit. We have a great artifact collection that we have gotten from across the country, presidential libraries and museums, local historical societies, things of that nature have really provided a lot of information and artifacts, documents, photographs that we are happy to display in this exhibit.
Gleaves talked a bit about that change and the arc and Ford's role sort of in the changing Vice Presidency. Is that apparent as you go through and experience this?
Absolutely. Like we learn about how the Vice Presidency was created in the Constitution, the founding, and then we also see it kind of elevate into something that was not considered by the founding fathers. And now that we have the 25th Amendment, which is the first time it was used was President Ford becoming vice president. And then the second time it was used was when Nelson Rockefeller became vice president under Gerald Ford's administration.
You have a special conference coming up. And it's coming up this weekend, and it is you have scholars. You have a really interesting collection of folks who are going to share a lot of information about the Vice Presidency. Talk a little bit about the conference.
We're very excited about this conference, and again, this is not a study that many people undertake. You know, you're usually hearing about studies of presidencies, not vice presidencies. Sure. So we do have a vice presidential historian, Joel Goldstein, coming in. We have photographers who documented the vice presidencies of Ford up until Vice President Harris now. So we are going to be seeing those photographers, David Hugh Kennerly. And then we also have Scholars such as Chris Whipple, Kate Anderson Brower, Richard Norton Smith. I mean,
Who I love to hear him talk.
Oh, he is so fabulous. So
Yes.
we're thrilled to be bringing all these people in to discuss a little known subject of American history.
All right. Well, it is your chance to get in here and learn more about the vice presidency, this often ignored but a very important role in our government. And it is all happening here at the Gerald R. Ford Museum. You can go to our website, 13onyourside.com. We have a link to register to participate in the conference and learn more about the exhibit here at the museum. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.